went to bleeding races, 'twas on the 9th of June, 1862 on a summer's afternoon. I took the bus to Bamberley's and she was heavy laden. Away we went along Collingwood Street, that's on the road to bleeding.
You're watching Toon Army TV. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I am less than 10 subscribers away now from 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that would be a big milestone for me to reach, and I can only reach that with your support. So if you can go along and subscribe, it's free of charge. There's regular content on the channel, and it would just help me, go a long way and support the channel in 2020. So as you can see in the title, English football has been given the green light from the UK government to resume football from the 1st of June, but most likely the football will start around the middle of June by the time the players have, returned to training and have got back up to full speed to resume the games. Now, as you all know, the games are most likely going to be played behind closed doors, where fans will no longer be able to attend games until further notice, until a vaccine has been found to cure this virus. Now, of course, Boris Johnson gave a speech to the nation on Sunday, just gone, at 7 o'clock, and he announced that we're still under lockdown, but the lockdown will be eased in stages. There will be step-by-step processes in order to try and get the UK economy back up on its feet and getting the UK back, in line of working and getting back to some sort of normality. Now, of course, as a football fan, we were waiting on news to see if the Prime Minister was going to let the football come back in the next month or so, or if the football or any sporting event was completely done until, something is done about this virus. Because at this moment in time, the virus is, very serious, and this is bigger, than football. But when Boris Johnson announced that, a lot of things will be reopening in the next month or so, and football was in there from the 1st of June. For me, that was good news, because if you love the sport in general, you want to see, the football back, because, you want to be upbeat about what's going on in the world. It lifts spirits because you can get behind your side from the TV, and it gives you something to watch while we're in uncertain times, because doing the same thing over and over and over again, of course, is going to be frustrating. Now, of course, with bringing the football back, that will potentially be a risk, because behind that, you never know if a footballer was to catch the virus, during a game and pass it on to another footballer or another family member, then that could cause bother to the Premier League and to the AFL, and I don't really want to know what would happen in terms of the consequences, because they would be huge. But that's not something I really want to talk about right now. But then the chief executive of the Premier League, Richard Masters, on Monday the 11th of May, which was a day later after Boris Johnson made his announcement, he basically said in the meeting where all 20 Premier League clubs were present, he said that the games will be getting played behind closed doors. And the topic of games getting played behind closed doors at neutral grounds, that was also brought up, and many clubs like Watford and Brighton were totally against it. And I could totally understand that. They didn't want to see the advantage of playing at home behind closed doors with nobody there taken away from them if they're in and around the relegation zone, or if they're in some sort of relegation battle. And that is understandable. I am a one to see the games played behind closed doors, because at the end of the day, with this virus and the way it spreads, you don't want anybody else catching it. But again, it is a safety risk of the footballers. Footballers are allowed to resume training, as Boris Johnson announced on Sunday, that you can have unlimited exercise, but also keep your 2-metre distance. Now, players, when they report for training, or when the football does resume, on a match day, they will be given a temperature test where they'll be able to find out, if they've, come in contact with the virus, or if they don't look very well. And I think that's a good idea, because, it just means if they've got it, they can't play, and it won't cause a risk to other players and other coaching staff, etc. And the same will happen to, certain spectators who can go into the stadium. I think if I'm not wrong, there's certain, people are only allowed in the ground at, any one time, so there'll not be that many, in the ground. So it's a case of, you can't let that many people in. It's a case of just getting the games, played. And yes, I understand football is nothing without the fans, and, fans play a massive part in terms of getting the results, especially if you're a smaller club playing up against one of the bigger clubs. And it often works in favour of us, the Newcastle fans. If you're watching, when we're playing a club like Liverpool at home, that could be the difference between 3 points and a defeat. If we've got the fans there, we could potentially win. But if the fans aren't there, then we could potentially lose the game because we haven't really got the squad to match up against Liverpool. And the players tend to thrive when there is a crowd, but when there's not a crowd, you won't get that 5% extra from them, which again is a real shame. And of course, with the football coming back, there is a huge risk, that somebody could catch it. Aguero said, who plays for Manchester City, he went along the lines of, I don't really want to go back. I don't really want to train because I'm scared that I might catch it and that I might sort of pass it on to, a family member, which, I totally agree with. It's not a case of I want to underestimate this virus in any way, shape or form. What I'm basically saying is if Boris Johnson is confident that the football is going to come back, then it's a case of he's only working off the science that he's been given. And it's a case of if he's, given the green light to the Premier League, they're sweating, on the football coming back. They want to see Liverpool lift the title because, they're 25 points clear. They want to see clubs get relegated and they want to see clubs come up, from the Championship because the money between the Premier League and the Championship is huge, with, the TV rights, etc. And null and void in the season without giving Liverpool a title, etc. and relegating clubs, without games being played with 9 games left, it just wouldn't be fair. But again, whatever decision the Premier League or the EFL make, whether it be through them or through the government, you're not going to please every single supporter of every club. That is going to be, the case with this decision right now. It's unusual for everybody, that the season, has sort of stopped 3/4 the way through the season. Normally, the season should have been done by now. This would have been the weekend where the Premier League would have finished and we would have been looking forward to the summer, the release of the new fixtures, players getting sold on and bringing new players in and just being prepared for the new season. But with there being 9 games left, I just don't think it would be financially possible to want to, stop the full season and end it because there's so much money in the game and the Premier League don't want to lose out on any money. They've got contracts with, the TV broadcasters like BT and Sky Sports and they don't want to try and, fob them off because, they've obviously paid for, a deal of getting games screened live, on a Saturday night, a Sunday afternoon or a Monday night. They don't want to lose their rights because that's their rights that they paid to the Premier League. And if none of that was to go ahead, then they'd be asking, for some sort of compensation. And talking of compensation, if games do get played behind closed doors, I do agree that fans should be paid a full refund of their season tickets for the remainder of the season. And for any fan who's paid for, a general sale ticket for the next Premier League game coming up or 2, even an FA Cup game, for example, the Newcastle versus Manchester City tickets, that are coming up, for the FA Cup quarter final. If that doesn't go ahead and we lose that, then fans, again, should be paid that money back in full because, there's football fans who, have lost their jobs. Some of them aren't guaranteed to go back, because they've lost, money and they need to try and make that money back. And for me, if clubs don't give the money back, to those who have season tickets or have, general sale tickets, then for me, it would be fraud because, at the end of the day, if you can, go to a club box office and they can take your money, then within the law, they should give it back. So it's a case of the Premier League need to do, the right thing in terms of the discussion with the football clubs. If the season doesn't recommence and fans can't go to games between now and the end of the season, and even next season, there's no guarantees that, fans can go back into the stadiums, then money should be refunded in full. And just continuing on, it needs to start around the 15th of June because if it doesn't, then for me, the Premier League and the EFL, they've got big decisions to make. Of course, they're going to watch what the Bundesliga is going to be doing in terms of them this weekend because they're now going ahead with their league. Yes, I know in Germany, their death rates aren't as high, but at the end of the day, you've still got to watch out to see how they go about things to how we go about our leagues, for the next, in the next month, if we can get this, the leagues back up and running. Fingers crossed we do, but again, it is a health and safety matter. But like I say, at the end of the day, football, of course, does need the fans, but if it comes back and, it goes well, if we can get back in line with next season, which is something we're going to have to do because, we've pushed the Euros already and we're going to have to try and get next season, up and running. Because the way I look at it, if we, cancel the season and Liverpool get the title, then for me, you can't relegate anybody. West Brom, and Leeds should come up on points per game. And then if you're going to say that for Fulham being the next highest in terms of the playoff spots, then so be it. But personally, you'd like to think that the two from the Championship will get promoted to make it a even, 22 club league next season. And then there'll be some sort of compensation for the likes of Fulham and Brentford in the Championship. And then obviously next season, nobody will be given, their European spots, because how do you know that a club behind them couldn't have actually qualified for, the Europa League or the Champions League? It's a case of you can't do that. UEFA will probably suffer in terms of, financially. Personally, I can't see the Europa League and Champions League, recommencing. I just think there's too much wasted time already, with what's for where we are now in the calendar year. We're currently in May, approaching June, and all this should have been done by now. But with what's happened, unfortunately, it's been out of the hands of UEFA and the Premier League, etc. And next season, if it's say there is 22 clubs in the Premier League, then for me 5 will go down, and then 3 will come back up from the Championship, after next season, because that means you'll get back in line with 20 clubs in the Premier League, and obviously Europa League in the Champions League. You'll not have any time to play those fixtures next season, because if this season continues back from say June the 15th, then this season's probably going to end at the end of July. And then what's going to happen to the transfer window? How long are they going to get for that break? And then when does next season recommence? And if it starts at the end of September, the start of October, then the games are going to be played every Saturday, Tuesday, just like the Championship, just to try and get in line with time that's been wasted this season with what's gone on. Because like I say, this is bigger than football, but you're going to have to try and get in line with next season, to try and get next season finished, to then get in line with the Euros that were supposed to take place this summer, that are now taking place next summer. How far can you push the Euros? That's another question in itself. But I think in terms of the general football fan, it would be good to have the football back. But if it doesn't come back, then I understand that it does come with a big risk behind it, because like I say, you never know who could catch it. And there was reports in Germany that apparently a player from the Bundesliga has actually caught coronavirus. There's been a Brighton player apparently caught coronavirus, but listen, that's not for me to talk about, but they are serious matters. And like I keep saying, if the football does come back and it's played behind closed doors, I am all for it, but fans should get a refund at the very least. And if it is played behind closed doors but at neutral grounds, of course I won't accept it, but I will accept it if it means we can get the season started and we can get the season to its full conclusion. But like I say, I would hate to be those who run the Premier League, those who run the AFL, who make these big decisions, because at the end of the day, they're going off the government. But then again, even the government, if you're the Prime Minister, it will be one of the biggest decisions that you make, because like I say, football or any other sporting event, they generate big crowds, especially football. Football probably being the best sport, the most favoured sport in England, Wales and Scotland. But like I say, it's a case of watch this space, let's wait and see. And I do hear that the EFL League 1 and League 2, that could be cancelled, and that will be getting done on points per game. So those who are in the Championship will be getting relegated. Those who are in the League 1, who are in the top 3 positions, they'll get their promotion. But you've got to feel sorry for a Portsmouth or a Sunderland, who are big clubs in that league, who shouldn't be there, and they've been looking to try and get promoted. But listen, beggars can't be choosers. League 1, there'll be instant relegations, but League 2 will be the same. There'll be promotions and relegations. And yeah, it is a strange situation at this moment in time, but I'm sure, we will get the right decisions very, very soon. So like I say, that was a bit of a long video, but let us know if you're for or against the football coming back. Please, if you are new, subscribe. Help us to get to 3,000 subscribers. Please like the video. Follow me on social media, TOON Army TV, and I'll see you all in the next one. Keep it tuned. Cheerio.
Hey,